Welcome to another episode of Behind the Bar podcast. As always, it's brought to you by RT Fitness Durham and Sunderland and the Barbell Club, where we take you from complete beginner to photo shoot ready. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, leave some comments. We like to have a little good read through them and see what we can do for you in the future. So on today's episode, we have Ellie, who, when we say from complete beginner to photo shoot ready, this is her story from that. She's been with us 13 months now. She has listened to us all the way through. Like, if all the clients were like this, it'd be an absolute dream. She's gone literally every single thing we've said along the way. She's done it. She's over 60 pounds down, and for the size what she is, that is a hell of a lot of weight. She's done amazing, and hopefully you've seen the photos of her already. If not, check them out on our Instagrams, our Facebook from there. But it's a blinder, this one, so enjoy it, listen to it all the way through, and take some notes. Hello.
Hi.
Right then, who is Ellie? And if you can give like a bit of a work-life thing around how you train, just so people understand.
Yeah. So I'm Ellie. Hey. I'm 33 and I currently work from home full time. But my job is sort of split up into the week, like half the week I work for my parents. They're an independent opticians, but I work remotely. So I do a lot of the admin, sort of finance back end of stuff. Sort of like 2 days a week.
Right.
And then the other half of the week I'm still working from home, but I'm an artist. So I do like commissions and stuff for people, like illustrations and brand work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so working from home, obviously you sat at your desk a lot.
Right.
Standard sort of stuff. And so, yeah, finding the time to get out and do steps and keep moving is like really important, and obviously a bit of a challenge at times and stuff. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird balance, and yeah, I guess.
Is that like a 9 to 5?
It varies. Well, with my parents' stuff, it usually is relatively structured. So it's sort of 9 to 5, but with my art stuff, sometimes if it's particularly busy, I'll like literally be working over the weekend as well if I've got a deadline. So I'm quite flexible with my art stuff as well. So obviously when I was training at Carnage and stuff like that, and I was doing like 9:15 sort of thing, I could kind of like, I'd work a bit in the morning, come to that and then work. And sometimes I work in the evening. So it's quite flexible, yeah.
Right.
Especially with the art stuff. But even with my parents, sometimes I can be a bit like, I'll log on a bit later and do it. So yeah, flexible hours.
So with that flexibility, can you get your steps in, would you say? Like, does it working from home, does that allow you to?
Yeah, definitely. I've kind of tried to find what works for me. So I always found that like at the end of the day, I had like no willpower to get myself out. I was literally like tired, and it would just be like a real battle. So I know that I'm more of a morning person. So right. I would normally try and like sometimes after I finished training, I'd go straight out and do a walk, like 45-minute walk or something, because I'm already like up, I've already done some exercise and stuff, so I just cap it on the end of that, and that kind of worked for me. Or like if it's a particularly busy day, I'll jump on the little exercise bike and get a few sort of moments in there. I kind of like try and fit it in where it is, but I learned that evenings was like a hopeless, like it was a lost cause for me because I just had no willpower.
So would you say you're naturally a morning person then?
Yeah,
or has that been ingrained since getting up?
No, but I've always been a morning. I think it's been more ingrained since I started barbell and was getting in for 6 a.m. But no, I've always been a morning person. I feel like I'm way more switched on in the morning. Like by the time it gets to about 3, I'm like, my brain's just like mush.
Have you ever trained on the night?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Never.
I couldn't.
No, I couldn't.
No.
I'd just be like, I just wouldn't have the energy. I don't even know if I'd be able to lift properly in that.
I think that's what we find with people is like, the people on the night, they can, morning people, they're more dedicated in a sense.
Yeah.
This isn't a diss at people who are on the night or anything. But it is one of them things where it's like, if you can get up, get it done, and then you've got the rest of the day to yourself.
Yeah.
But these night people,
night people.
The night people, yeah. With the people, basically the people who refuse to train on the morning, saying it's too early.
Yeah.
So these people, but like they can bring so many excuses into the day, like stay back at work, for kids classes, whatever else. There can always be something on the night, but like for morning people, you get it done and then it's like done before everything else.
I think it's like, for me, it's like you do have to kind of work with what, think about it, like what works for you. I think because there are, everyone's different. Some people are like switched on at night. Like I think there's an element of that, but for me personally, it's exactly that. Like I like to get up, get in, get it done, and not only like, oh, you've done it, it's more as well that you kind of like, it wakes you up. Like the rest of the day, I will probably have more energy because I've done that session in the morning. Than like, I think what would probably happen if I trained at night is I'd be wired for a bit and I probably wouldn't sleep as well, or I don't know, I feel like it would probably wake me up again, and I just go with what works for me kind of thing.
Perfect. Right, and so what was your earliest background in fitness? Or like, what did you do as a kid? Basically from child to now. Like,
when I was a kid, I was actually really active from like the age of, like really young, sort of like 5 to probably about sort of 12, and then you hit puberty and all that. But at that time I was into everything. Like I played like team sports. I was like netball, basketball, like hockey. I used to skate as well, like skateboarding.
Right, okay.
I was of that generation.
The Avril Lavigne generation.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Sarah.
You know what I mean? And like I used to do all that sort of stuff. Then I kind of got to like 13, 14, kind of became a little bit more, I think, self-conscious and, puberty setting and stuff. And I think my interests kind of changed a bit as well. So I was getting really into like art and music and stuff like that. And so I didn't do...
I thought you were going to say boys and drink.
No. No, I was just a little, weirdo that was really into art and like and video games as well. I love video games, so... And
what's your best game at? Like, what are you best at or were at?
It's what I really love is like the single player, like RPG type things, like the long things where you level up and stuff, like Skyrim-y type ones.
Right. Okay.
And the sort of story-driven ones, like I absolutely love like Naughty Dog and The Last of Us and all the stuff that Naughty Dog have done. So they did like Uncharted and Last of Us is like one of my favourite games.
Have we played that one, Last of Us? No.
Oh, it's awesome.
Played a bit Uncharted, didn't we? Yeah.
Last of Us is awesome.
Right.
Like, I definitely.
Is the one player though?
It is.
We're split screen, aren't we, Sarah? I'm not allowed 2 TVs and all.
I'm absolutely like crap at like anything multiplayer though. Honestly, I'm just a lost cause. Like getting in there with everyone else, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on?
You wouldn't be.
I
You'd
think
be
I
fine.
would.
You wouldn't.
But no, I was into like video games and stuff, and so it kind of like tailored off. And then when I was sort of in my 20s, went away to uni. That was when I was like, I obviously was like heavy drinking.
Yeah.
Standard stuff, put on like loads of weight. But I started doing more stuff. So I love swimming. I still love swimming, but I don't actually do it as much as I used to. But at that point, I was swimming loads. At one point, I joined a MMA gym for a year, and because I was down in Nottingham for a year, and I joined a gym there, like a MMA gym, and it was just to get fit. And then I realised after the fact that it was actually quite like a prestigious gym over there. Like they had like professional UFC fighters training there.
Was it Dan Hardy's gym? Dan Hardy and what?
Yeah, I only found out and because I was mentioning it to somebody in Carnage a while back, and he was like, "Oh, was it called this?" And I looked back, and it was. And I was like,
Jimmy, is it Jimmy someone?
I can't remember what his name was, but everyone used to get. He didn't. I think I maybe saw him like once because he turned. It doesn't.
Dan Hardy turned up.
Yeah,
didn't he?
But I didn't know. I didn't know. Like at the time, I wasn't like I didn't know. I just turned up to like train boxing.
Right.
So it was totally random. And it was good.
That's where were you fucking laughing at? I was? He tweeted his back once. Okay. He tweeted his back once, Dan Hardy. And Ross Pearson used to go down there as well.
Yeah.
From here. Fanboy. And you trained there?
Yeah, I had no idea though. Just walked in and was just like trained there for a year.
I'm trying to rack my brains what it was called.
The guy that coached him, I think he's gone over to like Thailand now, and he does Muay Thai, teaches over there in Thailand.
Oh, but it was that Tiger Muay Thai as well.
Yeah, he was really good. Like,
I had the shits, didn't I? I couldn't train there. But yes, go on.
Sorry,
so, yeah. So MMA there.
Yeah, and then I just done bits and pieces. Like
Right.
I've never really. This is probably the first time in my adult life that I've done something for such a long, you know, like just over a year. And being consistent with it. To be honest, before that I was apart from swimming, which was something I just did for myself randomly, that was probably the only thing.
So drips and drabs between like from uni up until
sort of like
starting here.
Yeah, well, I think what happened was, probably I had a good chunk just before I started here of nothing.
Right.
Pretty much nothing. So
Yeah.
and that's where obviously the weight started to come on a bit, and I would get out for walks and stuff, but I didn't really do a lot. I've done like Insanity, like I did like home workouts and stuff like that, and I followed that a couple of times round, and that's probably about it, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you say like between like say finishing uni till the point of starting with us, did the weight just slowly creep on, or like?
No, like it was funny because I always sort of stayed within a bracket of like, it was probably like 10.5 stone, and then the heaviest I ever got was 12, and I seemed to be able to kind of just manage it for like probably a good, from about sort of early 20s up until probably like 2000s, I think it's 2016, so it was a good few years. It'd probably be a good like 8 years or something.
Right.
And all that time I was able to just sort of fluctuate and manage it myself and get myself down a bit and do a bit more, and that was it. But then in the last sort of 4 years, it slowly crept up, and then it peaked and went before, like beyond the point it's ever been before, kind of thing. And that was like, obviously when I decided to start here, I was like,
needed to do something.
I did.
Okay. So what was, I mean, this is the one that I always like to know.
Yeah.
So what was that moment in time? Because obviously from starting with us, obviously we just finished the shred today, like half an hour ago.
Pizza time.
Pizza time. But from like, so what was your big like aha moment of like, I need to do something and I'm going to stick it out? Because most people, they say they're going to do something and just do it for a little bit, drop off. But you've stuck it out and followed it through all the way.
Do you know what's really funny though? Like, this is probably the first time in my life I've ever really been that consistent with something.
Right,
Normally
okay.
I'm not like quite consistent, but I think what it was a couple of things. So like, I'd slowly started to gain weight. I moved to Durham, and I started going out and trying like foods and stuff and exploring Durham because I like to go out and have some food and stuff. And then the job I was in at the time, I moved here and got a job here, and that was why I ended up moving here. And it was a sort of office where people like were having birthdays like every week. Cakes were on the sides in the kitchen every week.
Yeah.
People just brought stuff in every week, and catering was left over. So everything was just piled in the kitchen, and my desk was literally next to the kitchen.
Right.
So it started there where I was just like, I'll just have this little bit here and a little bit there. And I probably got to like, I don't know, maybe like just over 12 stone at that point. And then we went to lockdown, and during lockdown, I still wasn't doing anything, but I was doing even less. I wasn't moving at all. I was getting up and just sitting at my desk all day, and that was it. And then carrying on eating bad habits and stuff. And then I actually had some bad news, and my mum, during lockdown, my mum ended up having a stroke.
Right.
And they live in Northallerton, and it was, to be honest, it was quite a traumatic thing because I couldn't go. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. Yeah. She was literally taken to the hospital, and no one could visit her, and she was in there for 3 weeks. And it was like, I felt so helpless, and I was like, shit. And that kind of just really knocked me, because I think it was probably the first time in my life where, because she's had other ailments and stuff, but they've always been sort of managed. But this was just literally out of the blue. I got a call, and it had happened, and we found out. And from that, I just sort of went downhill, and that was why I left my job.
Right.
And I went to work with my parents because my mum couldn't do the finance and admin anymore. And thankfully, when I was younger, I'd done bits and pieces with it. So I knew sort of thing, and my dad, you know, he's the optician, God love him, he doesn't know what the hell goes on in the background. So I was like, shit, better jump in. And I didn't really have a lot of time to process that. So towards the end of that year, I just suddenly just crashed, and I got heavily depressed, and I started to deal with the fact of what had happened, and I did that through eating.
Right.
And I probably put on, within about 4 months, easy 1.5 stone, easily. And I just stopped taking care of myself, and my mental health was really bad as well. And it got to a point where I was just like, I've got to do something now. It's that thing of I've got to do something, because if I don't do something, I don't know where the end, you know, I don't know where it's going to stop.
Of course,
And it's probably the first time in my life where I felt really, I felt it that strongly.
Right.
And I think that was why. And the other thing I was going to say is my confidence as well, my self-esteem, everything had just been stripped away.
Yeah.
And I was kind of felt like a bit of a shell of a person and just lost, really. So I made the decision and to go with RT. I'd seen you guys, I'd sort of Googled and stuff, and you guys had incredible reviews and stuff.
Right.
And I contacted Sarah, and I was like, on that first call, I was bricking it. I was so scared. I was like, oh my God. And
did Sarah have her phone voice on?
Yeah, she was really posh. Nah, she was so lovely, and and she probably put me at ease, and I just knew I was ready. I was ready to make a change, and at the same time, I got some counselling as well. So I basically was like, let's tackle both.
Oh, fucking whole life-changing moment, isn't it?
I literally, it was really, it really was. Thankfully, my mum, she's doing really well now. She's recovered really well, but she still can't do that part of the job anymore. She's just fully retired and stuff now. But yeah, at that time, it was I think that's probably why I've stuck at it, because it was just, I needed to change.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was how long ago? So when did you start here?
So I started here, it was the very end of August last year, so it was 2021.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 13 months.
About 13.
13 months.
Yeah.
How much have you dropped in that time then?
I worked it out this morning. I think it was 61 pounds.
Fuck me.
Just over 4 stone, yeah. I needed it.
That's mad, because I know we have obviously seen you slowly develop over the last year, but I still can't imagine just adding 4 stone to you.
I know. Honestly, I was saying to Sarah before, I was looking at pictures from a year ago, and yeah. Maybe.
Well, yeah. Calculator out. We should have done the calipers on her actually this morning, shouldn't we? Tested her out from there. So yeah, that's wow. Yeah. 61 pounds down.
Yeah, so I was looking at pictures, and I was I didn't even recognise myself, and because I've never got to this level of fitness before.
Yeah.
When I look at the last sort of 2 months, especially when I look in the mirror, sometimes it takes me a while to sort of recognise it's me, and this is my body now, in a really good way, but it's kind of it's really weird, because it's shit, this is how I look now. I look good and I feel good.
Well, you're into the hardest part now, though, trying to maintain and not go back over.
To be honest, I always knew that was going to be the biggest challenge for me, and I really want to get stuck in on that, because I want this lifestyle to continue, a healthy lifestyle to continue now. I don't want to go backwards.
We generally, when we see people who's done it for a year plus, they tend to stick it out past that.
Yeah.
And even they might put a bit more weight on, might lose a bit, stuff like that, but they tend to stick it out and make it to that lifestyle. I mean, you turn up. That's the thing you do.
Yeah. I think, honestly, it's been, although it's been a big physical change, I'd actually say it's more the mental change that's been the bigger change for me. It's just, I think back to when I first started and how I feel now, it really is night and day. I don't think about food the same way. I don't think about exercise the same way anymore.
Yeah.
It's not a chore. It's fun, and it's do you know what I mean? I don't think about it the way I used to think about it. It was always such a
You've been surrounded, I would say, in here, like with your 9:15, I was saying earlier, your 9:15 crew, lovely.
Oh, they were awesome, yeah.
And now, like, your 6 o'clock
6 o'clock.
girls,
amazing, honestly. Sandy, Paige, Sarah, Vicky, all of them. Yeah, just amazing. I was like, well, even there, like, I loved Carnage because it was like, you were kind of, it felt like you were all sort of stuck in together. You all had to like grind through it together. And it was like next station, it was very like quick, fast paced. And you were just like, oh, come on, we can get through this sort of thing. And then with the barbell, it's very much like, I feel it's more mentally tough. Definitely,
right.
You've got to get your head in the right place when you're lifting those weights.
Yeah.
And it's really nice with the girl, like the women here that I train with, because it's like, they push you, like we push each other, and that's kind of like...
You are a badass group.
I don't know about me, but yeah, there's
no, you are, you are. Yeah, I mean the way to think, but you are like obviously Paige and Sandy are like the really strong, awesome. And it's like, but you've fucking caught up.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
You have,
and
they are like
they're awesome. Honestly, they push me, and I need it, and I'm really grateful for them, definitely.
Dan's been your coach both sides then.
Yeah, I've got a lot of love for Dan.
How's he been then?
He's been awesome. He's an awesome coach. He's got such a good balance between. He sort of knows when to push you. And when to sort of ease off a bit if you need a bit of like you need to do a modifier or something. Mm-hmm. But I think he's got a good way of reading people when he knows they need to be pushed a bit. And sometimes he does push me sometimes when I think about barbell when I first started, I think about the dialogue that I used to have with Dan when I used to go and do bench.
Yes.
So he'd be like, come on, let's get in and stuff. And I'd be like, oh, I'll see what I can do, or oh, we'll see and stuff. But now it's like, oh, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different like dialogue.
He was secretly training you though on the chin-ups, wasn't he, before the 9:15 session?
It was a mini goal. I was like, I've always wanted to do a chin-up, like body weight. I'm nearly there. I'm on like the black band now. I reckon I could maybe do a chin-up now though.
I reckon you could do two.
Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. If you're on the black band now, easy do two.
Yeah.
Because you were on the green band when Dan was like
when
doing
I was
the
still,
9:15, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was just a mini goal, and he was training me. Turn up 10 minutes early.
Mint.
Get a little chin-up session in.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no, I've got a lot of love for Dan.
So you've covered the carnage there for us, cheers. It's in your barbell as well. So obviously you are absolutely fresh off the shred. 12-week shred with the barbell. How was that? You
know what? It was tough. I'd say the last few weeks it is tough. Like in terms of physicality, you start to feel that fatigue. Say in the last two weeks, I definitely started to feel it. But in terms of like nutrition and stuff, like it wasn't too bad. I didn't find it too bad, but I think that's because I got like quite creative with my food.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, definitely.
Like to keep it like interesting for myself, so that like it didn't feel as like
a diet.
Yeah, it didn't feel as like rigid and like salads and high protein fish meat all the time.
Yeah.
It kind of was a bit of a mix, and I think that really helped me. But to be honest, I thought it was all right. It wasn't too bad.
Brilliant. Happy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know you haven't seen the photos yet, but
no, definitely. Like, because when I joined, did I join in like April or May? Was it like April, May time? I think.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Like barbell.
So I started barbell. You know what about barbell though? I wasn't sure if I was going to like it at first.
Did you not?
Yeah, Sarah was trying to get me over for a little while. And I was like,
for a fair few months I was trying to get
and I was like, oh, I don't want to lose my fitness. I don't want to lose like.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, and like it honestly it is. It's bullshit, really, isn't it? You don't lose it.
No, not at all. Exactly. Yeah. Emily had that thing as well, didn't she?
Yeah,
she like, I don't want to lose my fitness, and it's like you don't. Your heart rate when you're doing a heavy leg session, your heart rate is up, and that is working your cardio.
Well, I've jumped back across to carnage whilst I've been doing the shred to at times because I had to like lose some extra calories and stuff, burn some calories off, and I found I could keep up quite fine. Yeah, it's all right, but.
That's good to hear, because that's always the concern, isn't it? With people.
But yeah, like I got over in, was it April and May time, and
we set a handful of goals, didn't we?
Yeah, but I didn't feel at that time. I felt like I needed to lose a little bit more, but I didn't feel like I was like, oh, we'll just see how it goes and stuff.
Yeah.
But because it was what was different about it, as I was saying before, was like it was a mental challenge, and much more so than the carnage, I think. Like carnage is very physically tough, you've got to like, but barbell is literally like, you're training to failure sometimes, like lifting, and I've got like, honestly, I've got a bit of a fear of failure, so I was like, oh my God, I can't do it wrong, or I can't, got to do it right and stuff, so it was really like uncomfortable for me at first, and I was like, and then obviously what you sort of, with carnage, you're used to like moving all the time, next station moving. And obviously with barbell, you sort of stood and then, you do your set and then you wait for a bit and you chat for a bit. And I was like, this feels so different.
The 1 minute, 2 minute rests even sometimes compared to your 10 seconds rest here.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, even the pacing felt strange to me at first. But then I slowly started to realise like it was exactly what I needed, barbell, because it was challenging something in me that I was uncomfortable. And I think that was a good thing because it helped me work through that and get like a bit more like resilient, like a bit tougher mentally. And I think that was what was really good about barbell, and it is really good about barbell. It does like you have to sort of switch on. Yeah, it was good.
It is, And
that's great.
Your weights have come on brilliant as well.
Yeah.
You've always got to feel, man. That's when you know you're at that edge as well, and you sort of know where you can need to push that little bit more.
I think that's the thing. Yeah, it's like I'm a perfectionist, but I don't want to be. I do want to fail, and it's like a fear of failure. It's like doing something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, I've done it wrong or failed. But it's changing that definition of what it actually means. It's not really failing. It's just where you're at right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're gonna,
Perfect.
Yeah.
So last right. So last one. So one piece of advice you would give someone wanting to live a leaner, healthier lifestyle.
My biggest piece of advice would be take the time to craft a routine or a system that specifically works for you. Right. Because I think I could literally like stand here and say everything I've done, what I've eaten, how I've trained and all of this stuff, and somebody else could try and replicate that and it wouldn't work for them because their lifestyle's different, their hours are different, their food's different, the way they function as their brain functions is different to me. And I think people need to like take the time to understand how they work. Yeah. And then you can kind of craft something that suits you. I've got like some examples as well because that's kind of what I did throughout the whole process. Right, okay. Because the consistency thing was always like I think a challenge for me, but it's what's going to get you the results, as you guys always say. So the way I got around it was like thinking, right, like the morning thing, I knew I was a morning person, so I'd try and get all my steps and stuff done as much as I could in the morning. And I know I've got a sweet tooth, so I try to and you can deny yourself if you want, but the reality is like eventually you're going to get to that point where, you're going to binge or you're going to have something. Yeah, of course. So I felt like the better thing to do was to like look and find things that would give me that fulfillment, like in a smaller way. So I got like little Freddo dairy milk bars, and I just have that every once in a while. Right. So I never felt like I wasn't denying myself things. It's like those little tricks in your brain. Like, so I think like that's the advice, like for people to like take the time to sort of look at themselves and think what's going to work for me, what isn't, and you have been consistent. I think this is the big talk between us as coaches. Basically you have come in, we've said, right, X calories, X steps, do that. And then when it's come to the shred, it's like, right, X calories, X steps, and you've just followed it. Yeah, but I think that's what made it easy, but especially with nutrition. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the whole thing is nutrition for me, like the food. I've actually got excited about food in a different way, because normally I got excited about food with like desserts and pizzas and all that. But now it's kind of like getting creative. So it's like finding things and making food that like it looks amazing, but like calorie wise and like protein and it's hitting everything. And it's like you kind of get excited from that. It's weird. Like that was a big change for me, like doing that. And I think the other part of that I would say is once you've got a system, keep changing it. Don't just have the system be like, okay, this has to work for me for an entire year. Yeah. Like keep looking for other foods, other like ways of exercising, because you're going to get bored at some point. You're going to get bored with that food. You're going to get bored with like doing that same exercise over and over again. So if you can keep it interesting for yourself, you're going to like be like, oh, this is something new. And that's pretty much what worked for me. So it helped me be consistent.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ellie.
No worries.
Always
thank
a pleasure.
You. Yeah.